today I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic, so I thought we could look back over the 46 days of extra work I have done across my lifetime. I mean, I only started at 18, but you get the vibe, you get what I mean. And I've done a video about how to get extra work, which I can link below. But basically, you just really need to sign up to extras agencies, and then you can get sent work in the areas that you say you can work in, and you can just mark yourself as available or not and see what kind of work you get accepted for. And in this video, I'm not going to be talking about the specifics of the specific shows that I've worked on, because I think, like, you get a long contract and I don't think you're really meant to do that. So I'm just talking about the work in general and the work as a whole. And obviously I can't cover everything about 46 whole days of my life in one video, but I just thought I'd give a quick overview, some of the things that you might not know about extra work, or that you might know about extra work, who knows, I don't know how much you know. But if you would also like to help me out and subscribe, please do, and thank you so much. Let's chat about extra work. So what does typical extra work look like? I think obviously this can vary show to show, but it can be up to 12-13 hour days, but often you don't know when you're accepting work how long it could be, because it could be that you're just needed for one scene at the start of the day, or it could be that you're needed one scene in the afternoon and things will get moved around, because I think things always change on set. That's what you learn when you're there, is that sometimes, like, suddenly there might be a change in weather and suddenly the scenes that were planned to be filmed on the day on the call sheet can no longer be filmed. So things are always changing, but it can be long days and it can be a lot of waiting around, and the amount of scenes that you film can also depend on the type of budget and show that it is, because some, like, higher end TV or film can mean that you're filming one scene across 1 or 2 days. And, like, you can see the Harry Potter statistics sometimes as well, that they'll spend days filming like 12 seconds sometimes if there's a lot going on. Like, it can be like that. Or you could be filming something that's more low budget and you might be filming 10 scenes in one day. So I think it can really vary. Like the show Doctors, that is unfortunately now closed, I never got the opportunity to work on it, but they, from what I've heard, film one episode every 2 days. So that's kind of the sign of, like, how fast-paced TV can be. But you can be filming scenes set in different seasons to the season that you're actually in. So I've often experienced just not being dressed for the weather at all, and you're filming summer when it's like -7, or you're filming winter when it's like 31 degrees. And also it is costume, hair and makeup that are deciding on what you will look like for the day, so you've got to be open to that, because I know some people kick off, but you're not really meant to do that, because part of your job is looking like how you're meant to look like. Most of the time in advance you are sent a costume brief and you are expected to bring in options that you could wear based on that brief. And something that I guess I didn't really process before doing extra work is that often you won't really know what the plot of the scene is. You might get told on the day, or you might not get told, and you might not really know, if they're like keeping everything quite confidential, what's going on. But you might be living out certain scenes that are like plot points that you never think you would sort of immersively experience. So it's always quite interesting. Every day can be quite different and quite varied, and it can be very varied depending on what show you're on. And I feel like you just really become aware of the amount that you have actually learned once there are new people who haven't really done extra work before, and you find yourself seeing stuff that you've experienced before and like explaining it to them, and you sort of just pick up a lot of things. And I feel like it's kind of hard to explain technically everything I've learned about the filming process, but some of the things that extra work specifically has taught me is that a lot of scenes you actually have to mime, because obviously if they're recording the actors' dialogue and audio, then if you're making actual background noise and you're actually talking, that's going to disrupt the audio. So often you have to mime, and then they'll record a wild track after where you'll just be speaking in the location where you filmed, and then they can edit that in and add that around that. So you'll spend a lot of time miming, so that's something. You kind of get used to the rhythm of set and what various different phrases on set mean. And also the kind of miming thing also applies to the amount of scenes where you have to dance if there's dialogue involved. Like sometimes there's not dialogue involved, so you're allowed to have the music on, but sometimes there is dialogue, and then you might get like a few seconds of playback of the song and then you just sort of have to dance in silence. So that's something that is an interesting experience, and it's interesting if you start to think, this is what I'm being paid to do, this is my job for the day. I'm just dancing in silence with a group of people that, like, some of them you've just met for the first time. So it's really an interesting experience. Also, I thought I'd talk about the kind of people that end up doing this kind of work, because I think there are just a lot of misconceptions about that. Because do you actually need acting experience in TV and film, any kind of specific qualification? No, because I think actually the people who are actors are going for acting roles, and extra work is kind of different. You're sort of in the background of a show, so for the most part there's not really a specific qualification. So you can get people who are like training actors who want to get experience on sets. So you tend to just meet the same people on loads of different sets, especially if you're from the same extras agency. You tend to work with them on multiple different projects, which I think is really nice, because I think, like, you might think you're just meeting new people all the time, but really, like, the whole industry is quite small and you do meet the same people over and over again. And also the other type of person you can get is just like, sometimes students do it, or anyone who's looking for a bit of flexible extra income can tend to do it. So they can be entirely unconnected to the industry in every other way, but they're just trying to earn a bit of extra money or experience being on set, which I think is so cool, because you can meet such a variety of people doing this work, and you're with them for so many hours sometimes just waiting around. So you get to speak to them, learn about things and the world and people who you wouldn't otherwise ever really meet. And there's also people who can do extra work as a specific career, and they're not into acting, they're not trained actors necessarily, they just want to do extra work. And it can mean that, like, you have a month of no work, but also extra work can sometimes be quite well paid, because there are some big projects I've heard of where, like, people can do 3 days of work at like £800 per day if it's a really big project. And like, the fees of like how you get paid, I guess, isn't fees, like the wages of it can vary depending on the day and the project and what's involved. And like, if you get your hair cut, that's an extra bit of pay. On the BBC, I can talk, there's like multi-episodic fee, which is like, if you film scenes that are all from episode 1 in a day, then you just get the day rate and then like any overtime that you do. But if you film scenes from 1 or more different episodes, if you're filming from like episode 1 and 3, then you get half of the day rate, again, as a multi-episodic fee. I'm not quite sure why it happens, but that's something that you might get, and you won't really know whether or not you get it until the day. And just the social aspect, I guess, of this work is really interesting, and I've met people who I've become friends with from this kind of work. I've also met people and then encountered them again in auditions or various different performing projects, or just like loads of different places. And I feel like I've learned so much from people about their views on the industry, their advice, and the kind of opportunities they're taking, which has led me to be able to find other opportunities. And also, in reverse of that, I have also helped people who I've met doing extra work get various different forms of other work as well. Like, I feel like I've done that for other people, and I have found ways to work with these people again. And something I've become more aware of, which I think would be good to keep in mind as I hopefully move into doing more acting work in TV and film, is just how much the type of show, the type of scenes, and like even the costume and the environment can potentially affect you. Like, everyone finds it a bit weird being back in school uniform again, for example. I think even as an extra, if you are covering certain themes or certain storylines when you are an extra that could be triggering or could be quite similar to your own life experiences, that can be difficult because everything looks quite real on a set and you're filming stuff over and over again. So I think that's just something that is important to keep in mind. Like, I think actually all of the projects that I've done extra work have come out now, but it's so weird that your days are being filmed. If you think about it, like, your days at work are being filmed and are being put out nationally on TV. Like, that's just a crazy thought. Like, the amount of times I've been in the backgrounds of scenes on TV is loads, and then you start to watch scenes in other shows as well that have extras in, and you start to see faces that you know. And I do acting as well, so sometimes I see people in guest roles who I know, and it's just really interesting to watch TV and just see loads of people who you know. And I wasn't really trying to do this work for the TV appearances and the fame, which like doesn't really happen in extra work, so like don't do it for those kind of reasons. But I was just doing it for the experience. But I feel like I haven't addressed this whole video the fact that like sometimes I guess though you can film for days and days and days and days, and people have done that and then not ended up being shown on TV. Like there's no guarantee, and you shouldn't be trying to get yourself seen on TV. Like that's not the point of it. You're there to do your job and to go and stand where they tell you to and walk when they tell you that you should be walking. Like often you have to count like 5 beats and then walk somewhere or something like that. Like you just have to follow their instructions, and it's not about trying to get yourself on TV. But a side effect of doing this job is that I have been on TV a lot, I would say. And like as jobs go, I'm really lucky to experience that and to have earned money doing that, and I feel like it's a really kind of enriching experience. It's something that I've got great memories from, and that's my video on extra work. And obviously I won't have covered absolutely every element about extra work in this video, so if you do have any questions then please do leave them in the comments and I will get back to you, because I think it's important that we talk about all these different experiences and share knowledge so that we can all access this industry and do the kind of work that we want to do and have those kind of options. And thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you. Bye.